keep track of these 3 preventive tests over the years, and then you can see if something goes off trend, if something becomes seriously wrong, and then you can trace it back to if you made some serious change during a specific time of your life. That can be really good as you grow older to prevent serious sickness.
I sent 2 units. They're bringing her down now.
No, Lieutenant, your men are already dead.
The future is approaching faster than ever.
Technological change is speeding up, and your already maladapted evolutionary mismatches are multiplying.
In the future, the current version of you is already dead. The way around that is to keep learning, keep evolving, mentally, psychologically, physically, and financially.
Hi, and welcome to Future Skills. This is the podcast devoted to making you future-proof. Here are your hosts, me, Karl-Mikael Syding, and Ludvig Sunstrom. Today, we'll talk about 3 preventive health tests to stay in peak condition.
Yeah, and these 3 tests that we think pretty much everyone should do, these are hormonal tests, vitamin level test, and fatty acid level tests.
So, why should you do this? It's an easy way to get an indicator of your general level of health, and it's really important. It's a kind of boundary testing. It's to figure out if something is seriously off, not really to optimize your health, but to make sure you don't fall off the rails completely.
Yeah, like boundary testing. This is a concept from, I think it's programming maybe, or science.
Or physical.
Yeah, if you don't already know what this means, what it means is that you have scientists or programmers or people like that, and they're working, and then they're trying to find an upper and a lower boundary for the experiment that you're doing. They're trying to do something, and they're trying to see the minimum resource they can use to achieve the result. And then they see where it breaks.
Yeah, I think in medicine you have minimal viable dose, and then you also have a 50% death ratio where half of the test subjects die if they take that dosage. That's a very specific kind of boundary testing. Anyway, apart from actually controlling your health in a tangible way, this can also be psychologically important.
Yeah, it might sound stupid, like, oh, I'm going to do these tests and it doesn't do anything, but I'll just do them. First of all, I don't think that's true, because it does give you a feeling of control that you're doing the test. Even if the test didn't mean anything, but you actually felt that you were doing something, just the sense that you're actually taking some action and feeling like you're in control somehow of your health, you can actually say that that's psychologically important. First, because you feel like you're in control, and then secondly, because you're forcing yourself to take a proactive step towards improving your health. And that's probably going to make you care more about your health in the future.
Yes, a secret to many things is just getting started. And if you take a test, then you have already taken the first step, and then it becomes easier to maybe optimize your food or your exercise or your sleep, which are 3 extremely important things.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty cheap stuff, and it's easy to do. And you can do it over the internet usually. And still a lot of people don't do it because they just rationalize like, why should I do it? Because they're just lazy. But on the other hand side, those people are perfectly happy to spend more money than that on snacks or something like that, or renting a movie or whatever. Something that's, you could really say that that's the useless thing. They should care more about their health, but they don't.
Coming back to the psychological effects, you just shouldn't underestimate the power of thought. There is a lot of research done these days on placebo, and it's turning out that placebo is actually a very tough competitor for real drugs. So just by making these tests and starting something and thinking positively about your health, that could actually help quite a deal.
Yeah, I think the way that we've explained this now, it probably sounds like this is like a quack thing, but it really isn't. So if we look at these 3 tests, hormonal test, vitamin levels, and fatty acids, like what's the practical benefit? If you take hormonal levels, things like testosterone, estrogen, thyroid, cortisol, these are hormones in your body that correspond to emotions and your mood and your health. If you take testosterone, that's the male hormone. If you don't have a decent testosterone level, then you become less manly, and you get less energy and less mental focus. And if you have too high estrogen as a man, then you get bitch tits and things like that, and you get acne and things like that. And then if you take thyroid, that has to do with a lot with your mood. like your energy levels, ups and downs. And then if you take cortisol, that's your stress levels.
An important thing regarding stress is that stress is actually the measurements you have in your body. It's not really how you feel. You can feel stressed without the body being stressed, and you can feel calm and confident and not stressed while your body is actually stressed. So this is the way of gauging that.
Yeah, these are simple metrics that you can do. And then if you take the vitamin levels, like everyone knows vitamins are important. I don't think anyone needs any explanation there, but it's just good to see. If you're lacking some sort of vitamin, then obviously that's a sign that something might go wrong with your health, and you need to eat more of that.
Often, what's wrong if you are vitamin deficient is your lifestyle. It's not really that you need to buy a lot of pills and eat a lot of vitamin pills. What you really typically should do is get outside more, move around more, exercise, get good sleep, meditate, just keep stress-free. But no matter what the actual remedy is in the end, keeping track of this is important.
Yeah, because then you can diagnose it and then you can take action. But it's difficult to take action if you don't know what to do. And this can give you a sense of direction. Oh yeah, and then the third test, if you look at fatty acids, like what's the point of fatty acids to look at that and do an analysis of that? Well, it can show you the health of your cell membranes. And your cell membranes are super important because they're like one of the tiniest building blocks in the body, and they transmit hormones. So even if you have really good hormonal levels and you do a hormonal test, that might not mean too much if your fatty acids are really bad, because then even if you have good hormonal levels, the transmission of the hormones is not fluent. So like your cell membranes might block the hormone transmission.
And remember that cell membranes, they are actually the shell around every single cell in your body. So exactly everything in your body is controlled by how well your cell membranes are functioning.
Yeah, and like they're always communicating with each other.
And those cell membranes, they are, just to clarify once more, they are partially made up of these fatty acids.
Right. And if you take two things that I think almost everyone can relate to, that are often the case of having bad fatty acid levels, eating the wrong fats, too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3, then acne is one of these things. Another thing is poor immune system, getting sick a lot, or having very inconsistent energy levels, not recovering in the gym fast enough.
Now, we are not medical doctors and we are not giving out medical advice. But one thing to keep in mind is that inflammation and inflammation level is often part of the reason why you fall sick or why something is just off in your body. And one way to reducing inflammation or the risk of inflammation is keeping your cell membranes healthy, supple, and functioning well. Because that means that you can let the right stuff in that doesn't create havoc and inflammation within the cell. And once you have digested or dealt with whatever it is the cell is supposed to do in there, it can easily and effectively transmit the waste products out of the cell through the membranes. But that means that the membranes must be working.
Yeah. So if we do a brief recap, you have these three tests: hormonal tests, vitamin tests, and fatty acid analysis test. And each of these three cost probably no more than $50 or $100. That's not too much that's not a lot of money. And if you consider the results that you can see if something is wrong with you, you might not know exactly what, but you can see very clearly if something is lacking. And that's what matters, to identify if something is seriously off.
Yeah, and as long as you don't have perfect tests, or at least they are only half good, maybe you should do these tests about once a year. If you're more in control and you have more of a stable life situation and good measurements, then maybe every third year is good, as long as you don't change anything big in your life.
Yeah, and so you do these tests and then you keep a digital file, like a diagnostic file. And then you keep track of these three preventive tests over the years. And then you can see if something goes off trend, if something becomes seriously wrong. And then you can trace it back to if you made some serious change during a specific time of your life. That can be really good as you grow older to prevent serious sickness.
It's all too easy otherwise to do what I have typically done, since in my line of work, I got a checkup every second year, I think, typically with excellent values, excellent diagnostics, but I never really kept those. And so I don't really know what my measurements are. And I hardly remember when the last one was. Of course, I can backtrack to when I was actually working the last time and so on. But what you really should do is be more systematic and keep the measurements and make sure that you can create a file going over several years. Anyway, one thing to keep in mind here is to not count on catching cancer, for example, or curing Alzheimer's or something else extremely serious. This is not about making you immortal in any way. It's a question of motivating and inspiring you to take care of yourself. So think of this as the first step. And if you see something that's off, then start with sleeping better, eating better, and exercising better.
This is preventive.
Yes, exactly. I would consider those three things the three pillars of health.
And speaking of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, go for a walk.
What, me now?
No.
Just in general?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a general tip, recommendation.
Yes, that's the advice. Once again, whoever you are, take a walk at least once a day, preferably more often. And one thing to keep in mind here as well is that exercise, and why don't we throw in bilinguality as well, those are two ways of keeping Alzheimer's at bay for decades longer than otherwise. And with that, today's episode is over. So today's advice is to keep track of your health parameters and maybe also do a little thing here and there to improve them.
Yeah. Vitamin levels, hormonal levels, and fatty acid analysis. And keep track of it in a file over the years. That's it for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.